The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Gwilda Wiyaka's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the Science of Magic or endorsed in any manner by Gwilda Wiyaka, REL-MAR McConnell Media Company, its affiliated networks, stations, or employees. Welcome to the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, a program dedicated to uncovering the unified nature of reality and humanity's ever-evolving place as truly galactic beings. For more information on the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit us online at www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome back, dear friends, to the Science of Magic, a program combining the science and magic of today's leading topics to co-create new solutions and promote evolutionary thinking. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. This hour we'll be exploring vibration as the key to healing. Shamanism is an ancient form of energy healing dating back 60,000 years and is still in practice today. For any modality to have lasted that long, there must be something to it. What are shamans? In simple terms, they're frequency masters. They treat on the vibrational level of a person, place, or thing, correcting imbalances at the quantum mechanical level of life. While the quantum level is where manifestation begins, it's mostly ignored by modern medicine. Einstein believed that everything expresses according to frequency. He proposed that if you match the frequency of the reality you want, you'll produce that reality. According to this paradigm, it stands to reason that if we wish to be healthy, long-lived, and have abundant lives, we must match the frequency bandwidth of health, longevity, and abundance. It also indicates that there are frequencies below and above this bandwidth that result in a different reality. Just so, there are frequencies below and above the optimum human bandwidth where we can no longer maintain physical health, or for that matter, corporeal life. So what is the frequency of health, abundance, and longevity, and how does one access and maintain it? Our guest this hour, Dr. Stephen T. Sinatra, is in a unique position to help us explore these mysteries. Dr. Sinatra, the author of many books, is a board-certified cardiologist, an assistant clinical professor at the Medicine at the University of Connecticut School of Medicine in Farmington. He's a certified bioenergetic psychotherapist and a nutrition and anti-aging specialist. His website, heartmdinstitute.com. Dr. Sinatra, thank you so much for joining us on the Science of Magic.
Oh, thanks. It's great to be here, Guida. Great to be here.
So at first glance, your background seems firmly rooted in traditional medicine until we get to the part about you being a bioenergetic psychotherapist. What is that?
Well, basically, I trained under Alexander Lowen. He wrote about 25 books, and he was Wilhelm Reich's last disciple. And it was Reich and Freud in Vienna in the 1920s that had a split. Freud always thought that life mattered from the neck up, but Reich felt that it was the body that told the truth. In other words, the mind was a deceiver, so to speak. So he and Freud split, and then Alexander Lowen was Wilhelm Reich's last student. And then I ended up being Lowen's last student. So
Wow.
Basically, bioenergetic psychotherapy is an energy-based therapy in the body. And as a physician, I have to tell you that whenever energy is blocked in the body, illness or pathology does occur.
That's amazing. So let's go into vibration and healing. What do you mean by vibration?
Well, vibration, and this is something that I've developed over the last 4.5 decades of being a doctor. I mean, one of the things I realized about being a heart specialist is that all life, even prehistoric man realized this, millions of thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, that all life depended upon a pulsating heart. So the heart basically is in a vibratory state. It pulsates. And everything from minerals to enriched soils to animals and humans, we have a vibration in our structure and our being. And vibration just impacts everything. In other words, there are high vibrational foods. We have our feelings. We can have emotions. They can be low vibrational, high vibrational. And maybe I should give you an example of this, because this has probably happened to everybody on the planet. It's happened to me about 3 or 4 times. Gwilda, ever go to a movie theater and sit next to somebody, and all of a sudden you feel uneasy? You don't know why.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
person next to you was probably seething with anger or rage or something, and all of a sudden the vibration extends a few feet over into our own body. I mean, I've had it happen, whether it's in a movie theater or at a cocktail party or at a dinner setting, for example. Our emotions and our vibration can travel, right out of our body. And that's one thing I learned in bioenergetic psychotherapy, is that basically, through our auras and everything, even somebody has had a heart attack, for example, I can put a device over their chest, and it'll swing 90 degrees. It's almost like what the guys used to do to find water, those dowsing rods, so to speak.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And somebody with a vibrant heart, the dowsing rod will move 2 feet away from the body. But in somebody who's had a heart attack, especially what we call an anterior wall, the energy is really impeded, and the energy won't travel 2 or 3 feet from the heart. It'll only travel maybe 6 inches from the heart. So, this may appear to be like voodoo medicine, but it's really not. I mean, you just have to look at it, and everything is based on energy, everything.
So let me go into the heart a little bit, if you will. So the heart is creating a mechanical wave because it's propagating a pulse through a medium, but then it also spins the blood, spirals the blood through the veins, or through the arteries, and that spirals or spins the red blood cells that have iron in the middle, which creates an electromagnetic field, which is the electromagnetic field that's around the heart and therefore around the body, and it's measurable, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Is this the
Even
medium through? I'm sorry.
Even the red blood cells have an energy potential.
Mm-hmm.
And we know, for example, when red blood cells become sick, actually MIT researchers looked at this in the model of red blood cells and, let's say, malaria, where people who were afflicted with malaria-like situations, the energy of the red blood cell went down, and they measured ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And once the energy of a cell went down, it was more prone to illness. In other words, it was difficult to take in energy, nutrients. It was difficult to expel toxins. So, it's no wonder why an average red blood cell only lives to be 120 days. And you mentioned something very important when you were introducing the topic, this question about a minute or two ago. One of the things that I learned as a cardiologist is that the amazing force the heart has in torquing the blood around the body. And this happened to me by accident, Gwilda. I was in a cath lab. In fact, I was only a fellow in cardiology. I wasn't even a board-certified cardiologist. And we were doing a coronary angiogram on a patient, and we would use catheters inside the brachial artery and rubber bands to hold the artery in place, so to speak. But I'll never forget this as long as I live. One of the rubber bands slipped, and the catheter fell out of the patient's arm, and the blood literally squirted across the room and hit the ceiling like 15 feet away. It was at that moment when I realized the torque of the heart. And it's true. It's amazing. When we do an angiogram, we can see the heart twist. When we fill it with dye, for example, and it ejects blood, it's the twisting of the heart and the torque that is derived that's absolutely amazing. I mean, that's why, a stab wound or a gunshot wound, you can bleed out within seconds because the heart is torquing under such pressure that blood is flowing under, incredible speeds. And I'll tell you this, I mean, red blood cells travel at the speed of light. They vibrate that's fast. That's incredibly fast. So, there's a lot of electromedicine in cardiology, and we didn't even mention the electrocardiogram, which is really an electrical impulse. Remember, it's the electrical impulses that are transferred to mechanical impulses. And, that's the beauty of the heart. It's such a pulsatile organ. And about a third of the heart is ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate, which is the energy of life.
Wow. Wow. It's an amazing organ, isn't it? Just an amazing organ.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, and there's so much more to it than meets the eye. We're going to have to take a break here in a second, but I really want to get back into the heart does a heck of a lot more than just push the blood around, I believe.
Correct. And one thing we should mention it's germane to the conversation is that heart rate variability has now determined, this is scientific studies of the electronics of the heart. We used to think that the brain is the king of the body. It's the heart. The heart rules the body.
Absolutely.
Through the vagal nerve and everything else. Everything depends on your heart. It's not your brain.
We're going to have to get into
the heart rate variability analysis.
We're going to have to get into that on the other side of this commercial break. Dr. Sinatra and I will return shortly, so don't go away because this is going to be interesting. But before we pause, let me share some great news. Galactic Shamanism, Art of the Ancients, Key to Tomorrow, is offering a 3-day residential taught by yours truly, Gwilda Wiyaka. The 2018 Spring Equinox Medicine Wheel Training will be held in the beautiful Colorado Mountains, March 18th through the 22nd. Come enrich your life with the power of the universe. Learn to build and maintain your own cross-cultural shamanic medicine wheel to support you, your family, and the earth through these transitional times. The registration deadline is rapidly approaching, so visit findyourpathhome.com and sign up today. I really look forward to seeing you there. This is The Science of Magic with yours truly, Gwilda Wiyaka, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Gwilda Wiyaka's latest book, The Science of Magic, Book of Mysteries, Volume 1, is the first book in a series based on her writings that open every episode of the Science of Magic radio show. Drawing on the subject matter of each guest, and armed with over 40 years' experience in shamanism, 35 years in alternative health, and degrees in psychology and religious studies, Gwilda introduces relevant and leading-edge information that supports spiritual evolution and personal empowerment. Rich with wisdom and inspirational quotes packaged in digestible segments, this is a book that will pull you from cover to cover. It will also serve as a daily inspirational reading for years to come. The Science of Magic Book of Mysteries, Volume 1 is available at our website, tsompublications.com, amazon.com, and wherever fine books are sold. Back in Victorian England, a famous theologian posed a perplexing riddle. Why are the two top personalities in the Bible tagged with the numbers 7 and 11? Academics agree the answer is found in the stunning discovery of a hitherto secret Bible structure explained in a new book called The Genesis Grid. The discovery is so simple that preschool children could illustrate it. Certain claims are hugely controversial and may offend some, but at the X-Zone, we've studied this awesome new book and agree with one expert, and I quote, "These discoveries appear to be beyond coincidence." So who or what hid this wonderful pattern in the Bible, and what might they do next? Find out more, X-Zone Nation, and read reviews on www.genesisgrid.co.uk. That's www.genesisgrid.co.uk.
Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic. We're dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka, and our guest this hour is board-certified cardiologist, certified bioenergetic psychotherapist and nutrition and anti-aging specialist, Dr. Stephen T. Sinatra. His website, heartmdinstitute.com. Dr. Sinatra, we were just getting into all the magnificent things the heart does. And something you said earlier about sitting with someone in a movie theater and suddenly feeling uneasy. There has to be some kind of a carrier for us to pick up what's going on in another person's psyche or emotional realm. Is that carrier the electromagnetic field that the heart puts out?
Yeah, it is. In other words, the whole body puts out a field, and the heart chakra is very, very powerful. So it's not just the heart chakra. I mean, the other chakras involve the root chakra, the throat chakra. These are all important. But the heart chakra, because it's in the back and in the center of the chest, the energy goes out about 2 or 3 feet. And that's why I mentioned before, when you have a heart attack, that energy is decreased. And it makes sense because part of the heart in a heart attack is destroyed. It dies, the cellular death. So we lose the electrical nature of all those pulsating cells, which is truly amazing. I have to tell you that. It's just amazing.
You know what else is good? There's all sorts of rabbit holes we could go down here. But the other thing that fascinates me is I've worked on people that had heart transplants or heart valve transplants and actually had to rearrange the energetic configuration of the donor's organ so that the recipient could relax into and not experience the trauma at the time of their death even from the donor. This starts to make sense now with the way we're talking about the frequency, doesn't it?
It does. And I've had that happen to myself as a cardiologist, where we transplanted somebody's heart, and I'll never forget this woman. She never ate hamburgers. She never went to fast food stores before her heart transplant. After her heart transplant, she was going to all these fast food hamburger places, and she didn't understand why. And then she realized that the donor heart that she did get, and she tracked this down. It was a person who was killed in a motorcycle, and he was a hamburger lover. So, anything could be transferred. I mean that's the beauty of the heart muscle. I mean, we think our bodies are physical. Sure, they're physical, and we have emotional, energies, but we have spiritual energies as well. And it's really the combination of the emotional, spiritual, and physical energies that really depicts our being in this world.
Mm-hmm. Let's go a little more esoteric. What is vital force? You talk about that.
Oh, vital force is that unbelievable energy that we have, and I think we're all born with a vital force, but it goes by different names. I mean, vital force I coined as a term because I wanted to use a term that would represent the mitochondria, in other words, the ATP, the adenosine triphosphate producing energy factories in our cells. But, vital force has a history. I mean, it was called chi by the Chinese. I mean, centuries ago. It was ki by the Japanese, prana by the Hindus, breath of God by the Hebrews and Christians. So this vital force is really our energetic being. It's in the world. But as a heart specialist, and again, because a third of the heart is mitochondria, and mitochondria, make ATP, or the energy of life, I really feel that vital force, if we take it in scientific terms now, just get away from the ki and the prana and the breath of God, but now bring it down to scientific terms, I think our vital force is really the energy in our body that is derived from the ATP-producing mitochondria in our cells.
Well, that really brings us into yet another rabbit hole. It sounds to me, as I'm tracking you here as best I can, that you're actually talking about the space between physical and spiritual.
Probably so, probably so, because I'll tell you, you cannot, we are all physical, spiritual, and emotional. And I have to tell you, as a heart specialist, I realized this maybe 20 years ago, but when we get sick of physical illness, it's almost like the angels shaking us and putting an illness in our path to say that we've gone on the road less traveled, so to speak. In other words, it's the angels shaking us to say, look, your physical, spiritual, and emotional life is in a hodgepodge right now. We're going to give you a physical illness to straighten you out, basically. And I believe that. So, look how many people I've treated in my lifetime who've had, let's take corporate males, for example, who worked in corporate structures and had heart attacks early in their life. And I'd be visiting them in the CCU, and they'd be staring at the ceiling, and I would say, what are you thinking about? And they say, Doc, I'm in a wrong job. I think my job is killing me. It's a disconnect, in other words, with their physical and emotional. And then we've all heard this acronym, this saying, I'll stay in this marriage until it kills me. And guess what? For some people, it does kill them.
Yeah.
Because they've stayed in a dysfunctional marriage and they got heart disease. So, getting sick to me means that, we're disenchanted or we're discombobulated from our emotional and physical and spiritual being.
Let's talk about how vibration plays into that. So, is the vibration compromised on physical, mental, or emotional, or spiritual? Is that that frequency compromise? Is that what's causing the illness?
Well, yeah, and some people it does. I really believe that once we lose the vibration of our cells, we're more prone to illness. And even in college chemistry and medical school histology, we would look at the microvoltage of cells, and the healthy cells would have good microvoltage. It would be like minus 90 MVs. And then in cancer, for example, we've seen how microvoltage of cells goes down. In other words, they measure it. And even in that MIT study I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, where they looked at cells from malaria victims, how the energy went down. So yeah, there's a connection between all of this, and getting sick is, to me, can be an energy phenomena. Let's face it. Look at depression, for example. Depression is a horrible illness, and if you look at women with depression, they get 4 times more heart disease, when they're depressed. And if you look at depression, it's an emotional illness. But the emotional illness gets transferred into a physical illness. And, I use that as an example because a lot of people do get depressed, and they can connect with the energy of depression. It brings us down. And it not only brings our mental energies down, but it brings, it can assault us on a physical basis as well.
So again, back to the movie theater, if we're living in a household with someone that has chronic depression, aren't we subject to that frequency as well?
Yes, absolutely. And it can be catchy. That's why if you live with somebody in a house who is depressed, you might likely get depressed as well. A lot of illnesses, especially, when we live in close contact with our mates, for example, one person can develop an illness and then subsequently the other person may develop the same or a similar illness because, again, in households, we do have the same energies. We eat the same foods. Some of us may ground, some of us may not ground. Some of us are electrically oriented to gadgets, for example. I believe that computers and cellular phones and cordless phones are very toxic to the body, and it drives our energy down, our vibration down. So whenever you live in a household with somebody and somebody gets sick, we have to look at the environment because that same environment may have a particular effect on the other person, but that also depends on what their genetics are. Now that we've determined, the genetic, sort of mapping since 1997 when the Nobel Prize was won, now we're seeing that, genetics plays a very, very vital role in why people get sick. 'Cause some people can detoxify better than other people can. Other people have, strength. Other people have weaknesses. So I think medicine is going to get very exciting in the next decade. I can tell you that. And I can tell you this, Wilda. I really believe that when you go to a doctor 10 years from now, they're going to get your genetic profile. And they're going to say, okay, you're weak here. We'll strengthen this up, and we'll give you this antidote instead of giving people drugs and this and that. I think the whole focus of medicine is going to become very, very vibrational.
That's going to be amazing too. I have to agree with you, even though I'm certainly not the expert you are. But if you think about it, it's all about the frequency. You have genetic predisposition, but you don't have to ever break down in that particular illness if the frequency of your body is maintained at a healthy level. Is that what you're talking about here?
Yeah, exactly. In other words, look, if you are dealt a bad set of genetics, that doesn't necessarily mean you're doomed. You know, I had this all the time in my practice, Gwilda. I mean, I've had.
From our broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond, you're watching the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media Den.
The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State certified occupational school training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, They conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
Welcome back. This is the Science of Magic, a place where magic and science come together to promote enlightenment. If you enjoy all the wonderful topics on our program, visit my blog to ask questions and share thoughts as the adventure continues at our website, thescienceofmagic.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka, and our guest this hour is board-certified cardiologist, certified bioenergetic psychotherapist, and nutrition and anti-aging specialist, Dr. Stephen T. Sinatra. His website, heartmdinstitute.com. Dr. Sinatra, we were talking about genetics and how genetics can predispose us to something, but it really depends on the way the individual approaches what's in their genetics and how they choose to live with that. In other words, sometimes a person can really be afraid of the disease that their parents died from and develop it at about the same age that their parents had, while others absolutely never see the disease at all. How do you explain that?
Well, I mean, if you have a parent who died early, and I had several in my practice, and if the child believes that they will also die early because their parent did, in most situations, that child will develop a similar illness. Now, this was written up by George Engel, by the way. He was a psychiatrist and an internist. He was dual board certified. And he wrote about 200 cases of sudden death. But what was really interesting was that he wrote about his own situation where his dad died and he was a twin. And basically, he and his brother, who were both doctors, MDs, believed that the death of their father was absolutely catastrophic. And his brother died on the same day that his father died on. Now, George Engel, he was lucky. He did not have a heart attack on the anniversary date, but he developed bleeding hemorrhoids, and he had a bleeding disorder. And it's my belief that there was such a high impact of energy in the physical body that the bleeding in itself was a way of poking a hole in the dam, so to speak, and getting the energy out. And it was fortunate that he had this because he didn't have a catastrophic event like his twin brother did, a heart attack, which was really the cause of his father's demise. So I wrote about that in my book, Heartbreak and Heart Disease. And I have to tell you, it's a very, very, we call it the nemesis complex. So for our listeners, if you have a parent who died of an illness very early, do not believe that you're going to get that illness. You have to cast that out of your body. Don't believe it. Just don't think about it, because that nemesis complex, if you do believe it and if you do think about it often, it could have major consequences in your own body.
So like belief and fear, of course, but belief actually attunes you to the very thing that you're afraid of.
Yes. You'll actually create the situation that you're afraid of. So it's so important. And a lot of us do that. We worry all the time. And again, I saw that in my patients all the time with heart disease. They worry they have cancer, and I would tell them, stop that. So don't even, put that word in your vocabulary. These older people would come in, with pains in their sides, and they would want me to check them for cancer and stuff like that. And, our psyche is a very, very important prognosticator of our physical body, and people need to realize it. It's a simple aspect of crying. One of the reasons why I wrote Heartbreak and Heart Disease years ago was that I discovered very early on in the 1970s, when I did a workshop at our hospital in Connecticut, was that crying is one of the healthiest things you can do to prevent the heartbreak that can lead to heart disease. And I published that in the medical literature. In fact, I did this study. I had 44 people in the workshop, and we published it. And what we looked at was urines, because the urine would have the breakdown products of stress hormones like adrenaline, noradrenaline, epinephrine, all those adrenaline-like hormones. And what we found was that women who were in the workshop, who bonded with one another, who who hugged one another, who cried with one another, who got angry with one another. They had no hormones in their urine. And when we broke the codes, they had no illness. And then we had 5 men. And I'll never forget this. That's why I published it, was that these men, they were like lumps of clay. They didn't cry. They didn't get angry. They wrapped their arms around their own bodies. They didn't hug one another. They didn't do anything. And they just sat there like lumps of clay. When we broke the codes, they had astronomical levels of adrenaline-like substances in their urine because the urine told the truth. And then when we broke the subsequent code on illness, 4 out of 5 of them had major heart attacks.
Wow.
In their history. So, again, emotions are a big factor, and crying is one of the healthiest things we can do to really heal the body. I mean, I'm convinced about that.
It's a form of cleansing, isn't it? It's an energetic cleansing. Yeah.
I mean, not only do you get endorphins released in tears, which is energetic cleansing, but you're moving the diaphragm, you're sobbing. And Polish researchers years ago showed that in let's say, chaotic breathing, like a type A individual would do, with type A behavior or coronary prone behavior, who suck in air and to try to get their words out very quickly. It's not a rhythmic type of breathing. They form more of what we call thromboxane A2 in their lungs, which clots blood. And we know that blood clotting, and the research I did on grounding, for example, I mean, we know that the thick blood, red ketchup blood, is the major, instigator of stroke and heart attack. So one of the things we need to do is keep our blood thin, and we can do that with earthing and walking on barefoot on the earth. We can certainly do it with, being very close to our emotions and crying and literally, discharging a lot of toxic energies we have and freeing up, the thromboxane A2 in the lung with, the sobbing and there's a biochemical basis for what I'm saying, not only with endorphins in the eyes, but other hormone-like substances in the body as well.
There's these models that tend to go cross-cultural, that we're going back to, let's talk about our auric field, or the field around the heart. There is a field around the whole body, but it has various levels. There's one that represents the physical, which is the closest to the body. Then there's the emotional, which is next out. Then there's the mental, and then there's the spiritual, or where we start to blend into all that is, or at the quantum level. If any one of these gets bogged down, what happens to all the rest?
Well, that's what I was talking about before. When we get off, let's say, tracked with our emotional, physical, and spiritual beings, when we, go on this road less traveled, so to speak, and we don't connect with our physical, spiritual, and emotional nature, we can literally get illness. And this is where, I really believe this after practicing medicine for over 45 years, that when we're off track, sometimes the spiritual forces, the angelic beings, can literally put an illness in our path to get us back on track. I'll never forget, I was taking care of a young woman who developed breast cancer, and she happened to be married to an oncologist, a cancer specialist. And I mean, I'll never forget it. I mean, I asked her about her emotional life, and it wasn't too good. And basically, she thought that she could overcome breast cancer by getting in touch with her emotional and spiritual nature, and she did it. She actually ended up curing herself. So it's very, and she realized, I'll never forget this, Gwilda. She said to me, maybe this breast cancer is an opportunity for me now to live my life in a more coherent fashion. Boy, what a statement! Oh, I got the angelic chill on that one. Right now.
And when you reframe like that, you can change outcome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just amazing.
Absolutely.
Just amazing. So we create what we believe in. All we have to do is change our beliefs to uncreate and recreate something new.
Well, it's a start, sure. Yeah, change belief systems. I mean, as a Gestalt psychotherapist, I got to tell you, belief systems are really crucial. I mean, and a lot of us have these false belief systems from childhood.
Yeah,
I mean,
beliefs.
How many of us have heard in our childhood, if you don't stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And like I said before, when I did that workshop, I realized that men who don't cry get heart disease. Think about that.
Yeah, Oh, it's all
Men
blocked
who
up. And
don't
there you have
cry
it.
get heart disease.
Wow.
And that was one of my issues, Gwilda. And because I grew up, I was I was strapped, and I was I wasn't mutilated or anything like that, but if I was a bad boy, I got hit on the fanny. That was the thing my parents did in my day and age. And I have to tell you that it's just absolutely amazing. But I shut off my tears. And when I went into Gestalt psychotherapy and again in bioenergetics, I couldn't cry. An amazing event happened in my life. I think it was placed in my path by the angels again. I went to a movie theater and I saw this movie with Gene Hackman in it about this basketball team in Indiana. And during the movie, I was crying, and I was with my 8-year-old son. He goes, "Dad, you're crying again. You're crying again." And I said, "Drew," this is the most healing thing I can do in my life. The movie brought out my sadness, and it touched something in me. That's why when I was counseling patients, and they would say to me, "Oh, I went to this movie and it made me cry," I would say, No. The movie didn't make you cry. The movie just touched the overwhelming sadness we all have in our bodies, and it was a vehicle to get you to cry. But that's the most healing thing we can possibly do is cry.
Wow. Amazing.
And so, sometimes events are placed in our path that are truly rewarding and simple, and we don't seize the opportunity. So that's why I saw that movie 5 times and kept on crying, because I knew it would help alleviate the stress and tension in my body.
Well, we're going to have to cry on the other side of another break here. Dr. Sinatra and I will be back shortly, so don't you dare go away. Remember, you can always listen to past Leading Edge episodes where great minds meet, free of charge, on our website, thescienceofmagic.net. This is The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Named one of the world's greatest psychics, Elizabeth Joyce is now giving readings worldwide via Skype. Elizabeth Joyce is recognized for her clairvoyant ability to help find missing persons, her analysis of dreams, past life regression work, mediumship, and her accurate predictions. Elizabeth has been a frequent guest on the X-Zone radio show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, now for several years. For an appointment with Elizabeth Joyce, call 201-934-8986 or Skype at elizabeth.joyce. And for more information, you can always visit Elizabeth Joyce online at www.new-visions.com. The new nonfiction book, Razor of Madness, is similar to cult movies like Clockwork Orange, Dragon's Tattoo, or The Other Side of Hell. Wayne Morin Jr. and Thomas Lee Howe will expose widespread and systematic deficiencies in this thought-provoking tell-all novel. Mind control rages among scholars in law schools. Human rights are ignored while thought reform and mental manipulation are accepted practices used as behavior modification. Dr. Louis Jolyon West comes to mind. Media and public scrutiny shows that United States mental hospitals are in fact destructive murder industries. Razor of Madness expose novel details this epidemic through an in-depth professional and personal investigation. For decades there has been a revolving door policy that still releases killers and pedophiles back into society. The maestro of mind control continues to haunt America to this very day. Razor of Madness is available in paperback or as a downloadable ebook at Amazon.com.
I'm William S. Peckham. If you enjoy a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love my novel, From Out of the Woodwork. It's the story of a young Toronto contractor, Sean Kennedy, who buys derelict homes, guts them, and turns them into multifamily dwellings. Slums just waiting to happen. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, the house fights back. Former owners unexpectedly come out of the woodwork as he starts the destruction. The apparitions come to him when he touches old books, reads hidden letters, rummages through old boxes. finds a locket or reads a discovered manuscript of a murder mystery. From Out of the Woodwork will take you from 1899 to the horror of the World Trade Center, September 11, 2001. Check out From Out of the Woodwork on my website, www.williamspeckham.com.
Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, bringing together gifted people of service to the world. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. What's up in your world? I always love to hear from my listeners. You can email me at info@thescienceofmagic.net and suggest a topic or guest that's on your mind. I'm sure we'll all enjoy them. We're speaking with Dr. Stephen T. Sinatra. He's an author, board-certified cardiologist, certified bioenergetic psychotherapist, and nutrition and anti-aging specialist. His website, heartmdinstitute.com. Dr. Sinatra, I'd like to change gears just a little bit here, and let's get back to vital force, cellular activity, and as it applies to aging.
Sure. I mean, one of the things that was placed in my path very early in my lifetime was coenzyme Q10. And,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I started using that in 1982, so that's a long time ago. And it's been one of my go-to nutrients for increase in vibration in the heart. And I developed the program of metabolic cardiology to sort of invigorate the vibration of the heart. And it just makes sense. And then when I read this paper, it came out of the Scandinavian literature. It was about intrinsic stem cells. And it was in 2009. And I'll never forget it. I had great joy in my body reading this article because for years I did not understand why I would see people with massive cardiomyopathies, massive heart attacks, told they only had months to live, people waiting for heart transplants, which I would put on my program, and they'd even refuse heart transplants. And I could not explain it. And then once this paper came out, I was absolutely full of joy. And it basically comes down to this, Gwilda. You could have a heart attack, and if you had a heart attack, and it's a massive heart attack, what I learned in medical school in the late 60s and early 70s was that breast cancer had a better 5-year survival than heart failure.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these heart attacks can get turned into heart failure because you lose a lot of muscle.
Right.
And when I started using coenzyme Q10, and then I added carnitine, and I was giving them magnesium, and then I gave them D-ribose, I had a program called metabolic cardiology. And I believed that the metabolic cardiology, these 4 nutrients, could drive what we call ATP, or drive energy in a preferential direction. And when I read this article in the Scandinavian literature on intrinsic stem cells, the joy I had was this, and this is incredible stuff. And by the way, this research was rediscovered, or it was sort of propagated again in 2017. Another paper came out which validated the findings in 2009.
Wow.
But what it means is this. We have intrinsic stem cells, and they live in our fat, they live in our bone marrow. And, stem cells are the field of the future. That's going to be the future of medicine, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But we have our own stem cells. So if you have an illness, I don't care what the illness is, and if you can live 2, 3, 5, more, maybe 10 years, our own intrinsic stem cells can reinvigorate our organs. Like we talked about, red blood cells live in 120 days. Well, the liver can regenerate itself. The heart, you can regenerate 40% of your heart if you live a few decades. So in people that I use metabolic cardiology on, the ATP supporting nutrients, where I use coenzyme Q10, carnitine, D-ribose, and magnesium, the belief I had was that I was driving ATP in a preferential direction. And since ATP is the essence of mitochondria, the essence of life, sort of the chi, the ki energy, the prana, the breath of God by the Hebrews, whatever it is, I always felt that when we drive ATP in this direction, now we're turning on our stem cells of our body, which has the history, has the solution, has the mystery, has the message to fix the body. Remember this. I've known this as a doctor for the last few decades. The body has the intrinsic wisdom to heal itself. All we need is the right resources, the right emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual forces. We drive that into the body, and the body has the memory to heal. We just got to give it the proper food, the proper nutrients, the proper beliefs. Crying. We have to just discharge the body of the negative producing components and fill it with positive producing components.
So you're talking energy healing here. You're talking vibrational
energy
healing.
It
exactly.
Is. It's vibrational healing.
And it's been practiced for thousands of years.
Oh yeah.
But now you're bringing it into medicine. How exciting is that?
I mean, even Dolores Krieger, I believe at Columbia years ago, when she was doing her Reiki, would show that you could increase red blood cell in the body.
Right.
In other words, that was shown 30 years ago. Energy medicine right now, we're at a crossroads, and I really think it's going to be the energy of the future.
Mm-hmm. I so agree with you. And it's so exciting because, once again, it's where science and magic meets, isn't it?
Well, it is. And, the blessing for me, because, I've been preaching grounding for 12 years and metabolic cardiology for years and mind-body medicine and heartbreak and heart disease. But I'll tell you, when I met Tommy Rosa and, when he did that round trip to heaven and back, he validated my research. Because what he heard in heaven was what I was preaching on earth. Because you got to remember, Gwilda, when I was lecturing on CoQ10 30 years ago, doctors would be walking out of the room. Nobody wants to believe this kind of stuff, The medical establishment, they want to believe in high-profile pharmaceutical drugs, and they do work in some instances. I believe in drug therapy, but lots of times it's simple things that work even better than high-class pharmaceutical drugs. So vibrational energy to me is really the essence of life, and that's why certain foods, high-energy foods, and the Greeks even knew that, when they used bee pollen years ago, thousands of years ago in the Olympics, the Greeks believed that high-energy foods could bring energy to the body. So
I had this most interesting thing explained to me one time by a person that really specialized in energy medicine, but he also worked with MDs and everything. He did biofeedback of all things. But he says, if what you're eating has less life force than you do, it's going to take more life force to digest it than what you get out of it. It's simple math.
He's absolutely right. Yeah, he's absolutely right. And what's the one thing we eat today that sucks our life force?
All the dead food, maybe?
Sugar.
Oh, that.
The average person now eats
today?
160 pounds of sugar a year. And sugar brings nothing to the table. It creates heart disease. It's not cholesterol, it's sugar. Cholesterol protects the heart. Sugar kills the heart.
I believe it.
And we're a sugar-laden society. So what you just said is, our listeners have to take it away, and you really got to cut down on the carbs and the sugar in your diet, because then you'll have a low vibrational diet. A high vibrational diet is all about, high vibrational foods. That's why I even developed my own pasta sauce in a green facility in Ohio, because tomatoes, lycopene, bring an enormous amount of energy, to the body, especially when you mix it with olive oil, which is the secret sauce of the Mediterranean diet. That's why people live to 100 years old in a Mediterranean basin, because olive oil actually changes pro-inflammatory gene expression. So there's so many things you can do with high vibrational foods, and that's one of the reasons why I combine, garlic and olive oil together and the lycopene of tomatoes, because it's an incredible food you can take to keep you young. And I'll tell you this, Gwilda, another thing about lycopene is if you mix it with sulforaphane, which is found in broccoli, there's good research to show that the combination of the sulforaphane in broccoli and the lycopene in tomatoes is a deterrent to not only prostate cancer in men, but breast cancer in women. So even when my daughter-in-law developed breast cancer in her 40s, every time she comes to my house, I'm feeding her tomato sauce, and that's why I made my own, in this facility in Ohio, and I give her broccoli at the same time. It's a perfect combination.
Yeah, it's just amazing. So
it's
you are what you
eat. Response.
Yeah, and all of our old diets were based on synergistic responses and how the food available could be combined to make a complete protein. And we've just gotten so far away from that to our own detriment, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Even supplements, one of the brain supplements I really like is resveratrol and turmeric. Individually, they're amazing individually, but if you take them in the same supplement together, it's like rocket fuel for the brain. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you today, because of all the electromagnetics out there, the cordless phone, the cellular phone, I mean, the Wi-Fi, all that stuff, I believe it's aging our brain. And, we don't want aging brains, because in this toxic environment, with all the chemicals in the environment and the electromagnetic forces, I mean, we want our brains to be sharp. And I'll tell you, I was at a medical conference a few weeks ago, and there was a devastating statistic given by Andrew Wakefield from England. It's horrible. He said by the year 2031, we might have 1 in 2 males being born autistic in our society, and that's
Oh,
a
my
very, very
gosh.
scary.
Oh,
You
scary.
should have him
Scary.
on your show. He's really good. As a doctor, when I listen to other doctors speak in the audience, I can be a good critic, because I've been a doctor for 40 plus years, and
Mm-hmm.
I have some gray hairs now, so I can see if somebody's on the right track. And I got to tell you, he was really good. So my hat's off to him. But it's getting scary right now in our environment.
It is, and I'm
we
so
need to do
glad.
something.
I'm so glad revolutionary thinkers like yourselves are out there making noise and making a difference. And time has flown. Unfortunately, we're about out of it. But we just barely got started on what we can dance with. I'd love to have you on again in some time
Sure,
in
we'll
the
do
future.
it again.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great.
All right, great talking to you.
Great talking to you. Our guest this hour has been board-certified cardiologist, certified bioenergetic psychotherapist, and nutrition and anti-aging specialist, Dr. Stephen T. Sinatra. A lot of great information. This is a gentleman whose books you want to look up. And you can probably find them at his website, which is heartmdinstitute.com. Remember to join our email family to stay abreast of all the exciting new things we have coming up at thescienceofmagic.net. This has been The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. We're aired daily there. Until next time, dear ones, may you be blessed with knowledge and comforted with love as you master life through frequency.
One people, one nation, searching for the light. One people, one nation, coming from the stars. One people, one...
Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Are you or is someone you know struggling with addictions, depression, anxiety, relationships, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, grief, success, and prosperity? Do you know that your subconscious belief plays a big role in the outcome of your hard work? We can help you permanently change the beliefs that may be the reason for your struggles and failures. We care about getting you the return on your investment and the results you are looking for. We can help you be free of the limitations of your past and in realizing your highest potential. We work with people by phone and Skype. For more information, visit us at www.ritasoman.com. That's www.ritasoman.com. Do you think you have energy problems in your home? Do you feel better when you're away than when you're home? Joey Korn is a global leader in the world of dowsing who specializes in personal energy clearing and space clearing. He can help you create an ideal energy environment in your home no matter where you live in the world. Learn about his remote spiritual house cleaning services and much more at www.dowsers.com. You can get Joey's book, Dowsing, A Path to Enlightenment, as well as other dowsing books and tools, Kabbalah books, and Walter Russell books. Joey's work is really amazing. Go to dowsers.com right now. That's DOWSERS.com, or call 1-877-DOWSING. That's 1-877-369-7464.